Well, hello. Today's video is a little different. I have so many people that they watch one of my videos and then they have a question about like some stage in the process, like how I got to where I am now. And so now that there have been so many videos, and because my channel is so unorganized, there's just, random subjects here and there. I thought that it would be good if I did like a recap video just to go over how we got to where we are right now. So that's what I'm doing today. Now, my father, he had esophageal cancer. Now his was right about here, in this little area here, just below the jawline. And I remember getting a call from my aunt, which is my father's sister, saying that my dad had some type of growth on his neck and that it looked pretty bad. I wasn't living in the same state as him at the time, but when I reconnected with my father, he actually drove to where I was, and he said that he wanted to look for work where I was living and asked if he could possibly stay with me for a while. And he showed me the lump that he had. I could feel it. And I asked what the doctor said, and he said that the doctor said that there was nothing that they could do about it because it wasn't life-threatening. Now, I don't know how this resonates with you, but as a child who grew up without any type of health insurance, or family never had any type of health insurance, if one of us got sick to where it could not be treated at home, we went to the emergency room, and the bills never got paid. We didn't have money to pay them. And that's how I grew up. So having that kind of instilled in me, when he told me the story, they said it wasn't life-threatening, there was nothing they could do. It was just like this automatic acceptance of that. And looking back on it now, it's shameful that I had that acceptance, that I didn't push for more tests. I just chalked it up to, that's what my dad wants to do. That's what he wants to do. He wants to accept things the way that it is. And over time, as that progressed, where you could see it more and more and it was getting bigger, I urged him to go back to the hospital again to try to find something, and he just kept reiterating, they're not going to do anything for me. They've already told me it's not life-threatening. Well, flash forward till my wife and I were moving to New Orleans, and we offered for my father to come with us. I felt better having him there so that he could help watch over my wife. I had an extra sense of security there, and so we invited him to come with us to New Orleans. Now, as while we were living in New Orleans, that his tumor got so big that it was hard for him to breathe. It was pushing on his airway. So I took him to the hospital there, and this is where I really got a feel for how things are different depending on the state that you're living in. Because the hospital, they really accepted my father with open arms. They really looked at it like, hey, we're going to find some way to help you out. And of course, the tumor had progressed at this point. So the doctor at the time, he basically told me that LSU, Louisiana State University, was going to take on my father, and they were going to cover everything for his care. So they began treating him, and we became pregnant with our first child. Now, we had only planned on staying in New Orleans for 6 months. That's what our lease was, for 6 months. And now that we had a baby on the way, we really needed to get out of New Orleans and get in a more stable environment to where we could transition from not having a child in the home to having a child in the home. So we decided to move to where my mother was, to have that help from her and to kind of figure out where we were going to go next. So we moved and we left my father there in New Orleans in a nursing home so that he could continue to get the treatments that he was getting. I knew that if I took him with us, he couldn't get those treatments. It was very difficult to leave him there like that, especially knowing he was in a place where he didn't know anybody. But it was just one of those things that, what other choice do you have? My father stayed there for a few months, and then I got a call from his nurse, and they said that the medical team there said that they had done everything they could do for him. So his care had moved over to palliative, to just keeping him comfortable. So I said, well, there's no reason for him to stay there now. So I immediately went working on getting him into a nursing home where we were. A place that I thought that he would enjoy and would be a little bit closer to family that he had. And so I got all that arranged. He wanted to live with us, but that was not an option. We had, my wife was under extreme pressure with having a newborn baby, and I was gone all the time trying to work to cover the household for all of us. And then it was just, and we weren't able to give him the care that he needed by him being there. So, you know, he really didn't like that, but once he got settled in at the nursing home and they treated him so well, he got a lot more comfortable. And so he stayed there, lived at the nursing home for about 3 months before he passed away. And like I said, they really treated him well. Well, after my father's passing, my father actually donated his body to science so they could have research and possibly find medicines and cures, you know, by using his body. So I don't know if you know anybody that's done that, but when you donate your body to science, once you pass away, they call the people to come and pick up the body. So the only time you as a loved one have with the deceased is the time you have that since they passed away to the people get there. So if you're going to have any kind of funeral or memorial service with the body there, you know, that's your time to do it. So while we were waiting on transportation, we actually played all of these kind of funeral style songs, having my phone hooked up to the radio in my father's room, and we were playing the music very loud. And it was something to see, to have our family there mourning his loss and listening to this profound music, and the other people in the nursing home, they're seeing and hearing this, and the look on their faces, I could not help but think was that all of them were thinking about when their day is and how their family is going to feel on that day. But to be so put together so quickly, you know, and without any kind of organization, I mean, it's the most profound funeral service of any type that I have ever been to this day. So, but moving on, after my father passed, you know, I kept thinking that his fate would be my own, that I would end up, you know, having esophageal cancer. So I kept looking into ways that I could get tested. And I would talk to my primary care physician, and I would tell her how I wanted to be tested, and she would always tell me that the insurance would not approve it. So here I go again, thinking about like how my father and how we grew up and what my father was told when, about it not being life-threatening. And I'm like, here I am, I have insurance, and I still can't get this, preventative checkup done. And it's just so frustrating that it just really made me give up, made me not want to pursue it. And we kicked that can down the road until finally my primary care physician, she moved to another state. So I had to find another primary care physician. And when I went to see him, right from the beginning, he said, okay, well, they've lowered the age for men to have a colonoscopy to 45. So we need to go ahead and get you in for that. Your insurance is covered 100%. So I said, perfect, wonderful. And I said, well, I'd always wanted to have the upper done, but they said that I wasn't old enough and I didn't have enough of a, precursor for things. And he pretty much just agreed with that without having a conversation on it. Well, I go to the colonoscopy. I actually have a video where I was preparing for the colonoscopy, or talking about preparing for it. One of the first videos on my channel. And I go to the colonoscopy. I've never met this doctor before. We don't know each other at all. So I'm in my gown and everything. I did the colon prep the night before and all that. And we're just talking. I'm just talking with the doctor, and I'm telling him, how my father passed, and that I was always concerned that I would develop, some type of esophageal cancer, but I never could get tested. And he said, well, if my team can get you approved for the upper endoscopy while you're sedated for the colonoscopy, do you want to go ahead and do it? Do you want to go ahead and give us approval? And I said, absolutely, absolutely. So they put me under, and when I woke up, they had done the test. I asked him, I said, did you do the other test? And he said, yes. And he said that basically, he said they found a couple of polyps that he wasn't concerned about on the colonoscopy. And he said there was one really small, I don't even know what he classified it as. I think he said like a lesion or something. Really, really small on the esophagus. And he said, I don't think it's anything to worry about it, but I took a sample. We're going to send it off to labs. So I left, and I thought, hey, I thought it went good. I thought everything was good. And a few days later, I'm sitting on the couch with my wife, and we get a call from my doctor. And immediately I noticed that it was from my doctor. It wasn't from a nurse or from an assistant. So it's like in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, something's not right, because why is my doctor calling me? And sure enough, he said that the place that they had found in my esophagus, that it came back, that it was cancerous. And he said that he was very sorry. And he said, but don't worry, we've caught it early. There's lots of reasons to be optimistic. We've caught it early. He said, we're going to get you in as quickly as possible, and we're going to do a procedure where they go in through your mouth, through like an upper endoscopy, and they just scrape it out. They just scrape it out. We've caught it early enough, they can just scrape it out, and you'll be done with this. And I said, well, that sounds great. So it wasn't but the next week, within a week's time, they had me in for that surgery, that upper endoscopy. So I went in with the doctor. I had already looked him up and everything. He had excellent credentials and excellent comments about his work and everything. And I went in for that procedure, and after the procedure was over with, as soon as I woke up, I just had this overwhelming feeling like something wasn't right. Like, in the I want to say voice, but I don't know if you call it a voice, but the thought that came to my head and it resonated in my head was, they tried to get it, but they couldn't get it all. And now I'm still under anesthesia, but this feeling that I was having was so profound that I saw my doctor from across the way. I saw him from across the way, and I yelled out to him. And it looked like he was kind of trying to ignore me, and I overheard him ask where my wife was. And he came over, and I said, "You couldn't get it all." He said, "No, everything's fine. You know, the procedure went very well." And I said, "You know that you couldn't get it all. You just don't want to tell me." Looking back on that, I know it probably sounded really freaky, but I mean, I can't describe enough the feeling that I had, like something was speaking to me, that he had tried to take it all, but he couldn't get it. Well, sure enough, about a week later, get the report, and he doesn't call me. One of his nurses calls me, says that there were not clear margins, which is just what I said. They tried to take it all, but they weren't able to. So then they want to set me up with a surgeon, and to talk about having my esophagus removed. So about, I think 4 weeks go by now, and I meet with this surgeon, and I've looked him up. I mean, he's very highly respected. He's done a lot of these surgeries. He utilizes the Da Vinci system, which is a robotic system for doing these surgeries that allows for minimally invasive surgery, which basically means that they don't have to crack your ribs open, and your healing time is much easier and is faster. So all of those boxes were being checked for me, and that sounded good. So I met with him, and he said, the literature, everything that we've been taught says someone in your position, we remove the esophagus. We don't leave any chance for the cancer to continue to grow. We just remove everything. And he goes over with me about like the people he's had success with, and a little bit about what it's like, after. And I'm just looking at it like I just don't really have a choice, So I say, okay, we're going with the surgery. And from then on, I was just looking up YouTube videos, trying to figure out what I was going to be faced with. And that's what made me think, well, I need to start documenting this for myself, and maybe something that I say will help somebody. So that really what led to me, pushing my channel and doing so much with it as related to esophageal cancer. So I had the surgery. You can actually see the surgery and everything that I went through on this channel. I have, I think, 7 videos. And an interesting tidbit, on the 7th day, the day that I leave, when I'm being pushed out of the hospital, that voice that you hear that kind of sounds like it's coming from the PA or the sound system of the hospital, that's actually my daughter. She had wrote me a letter for me getting out of the hospital, and I put her reading that letter into that video. And every time I hear that letter, it still makes me cry. So just an interesting tidbit of information there. So since the surgery, we waited. It was actually probably 2 weeks before we got pathology back. So, we were hoping that it was done, that we were finished. We were hoping that it was finished, that it was done. And when we got pathology back, they said, okay, you have 32 lymph nodes. One of the lymph nodes is metastatic. It has a tumor. Now we've removed that metastatic lymph node, but there's no way for us to tell for sure if the cancer hasn't used that pathway to travel somewhere else in your body. Esophageal cancer is a very aggressive cancer, and you have a decision to make, but the decision is yours. And so we decided to see an oncologist. And I met with an oncologist, the same one I'm seeing now. And she said, if you were in your late 60s, early 70s, something like that, I would just say, go ahead and live your life and just, act as though you're cancer free. But since you're so young and it's such an aggressive cancer, and if any little speck of it went somewhere else, we could be full blown again at some point. I think that we should treat this just like the cancer is there. And I think we should give you a regimen, the same thing that they do with people who have colon cancer. And so she said it was going to be 12 rounds of chemo, one round every other week. So that's what we committed to, and that's what we've been going through. And that is my cancer journey. Now, as far as did I have any warning signs other than my father passing? Well, occasional heartburn I would have, but when I did have it, it would be bad. It would wake me up, and I would have to take some Tums, and also I was just really lethargic a lot of times. I was very, very tired, but I just chalked that up to working so much because I worked so many hours. I thought that's where the fatigue came from. But I specifically remember over 2 years before this telling my coworkers, I feel like something's really wrong with me. I just don't know what it is. But I urge you guys, if you have any kind of problem at all with acid reflux or indigestion like that, with the acid, anything's related to acid, regardless of what the insurance will cover, get scoped, get tested. That's your best way for beating this, for having the best outcome, is to find out about it as quickly as you can. So hopefully our country will change the policies so that men and women both can get these tests at an earlier stage in life. So, as always, any questions that you have about how things progressed or anything else that I may not have covered, please just leave a comment and I'll be happy to try to get to you as quickly as I can. If you leave a comment and I don't answer, it might be because the question that you asked is a little bit too personal, or maybe it reveals a little bit more about me and my family as far as where we live and things like that than I'd like for it to. Okay? So, hope you guys enjoyed the video and it was able to help some of you, especially those of you who are new to the channel. Wherever you are, I hope that you're having a good day and enjoy the day you have.